Alright, so now we've got a simple scene set up. I hope you built your own here, by the way, and you're not just using the scenes that I've supplied. We're going to take a look at rendering. Okay, now rendering should be one of the simplest things, but it's actually one of the most difficult things in 3D. Simple render, we can just come here and just click render, and it will create our image. Okay, a couple of dialogues in Windows we want to bring up more rendering. The first one is rendering and environment. So I'm going to adjust the exposure here. Now the easy way to do this is to hit preview here. This will give us a little preview which we can then use this to brighten and darken our scene. Okay, looks a little bit better now. It's probably a little bit bright actually. Let's just wait till that finishes and we'll just take that down slightly, say about there, and hit render. Okay, one thing you've got to be careful of when you're rendering is your frame size. Okay, what do I mean by frame size? Well, the number of pixels across by the number of pixels down. You can see the individual pixels here. That's great. Okay, and let's just move that over a bit. Let's come up here and look at our render setup here. Okay, so this is the dialog for render. 3ds Max comes with different renderers. There's also third-party renderers you can buy, which are much better than the ones that are supplied with the software, but we don't have them, so we're stuck with Arnold, which is a pretty good render. It's used in many movie sequences. We've got some things in here that, to be honest, we'll probably not get into at all during your course, and that are these three here. It's possible that we might start to get into AOVs, arbitrary output variables, but the main ones we're going to be concerned with are these three. Okay, so let's just go through some of the settings here. Okay, the main one is this output size. Okay, if I change that to you can see we've got presets here, by the way. Okay, so let's change that to 10 by 6. Now, let's see what that does. There's a render. Literally 10 pixels across, 6 down. Not useful for much at all. Let's just crank that up a bit. And you can see as we start to increase the width and height, we start to get a clearer image. Okay, useful for previewing when you're setting up your scene. Okay, because your scene, a single frame like this in a typical scene could take minutes or even hours to render, and you don't want to be sitting waiting on that when you could be rendering small numbers of pixels which go fast, rather than, you know, if I set that to basically UHD and hit render, here we go. Now that you can see that's actually zoomed out here, or sorry, zoomed in. Actually zoomed out, it was because it's bigger than. There we go, we're on 1 by 1. Look how slow this render's going, but we do have a lot of quality there. Let's just hit cancel. Okay, let's just go back to 1280 by 720 and hit render because it's reasonably fast. Okay, if we want to save as we render, we come to render output here and go files, and we can say, right, on my desktop, save this as test. And what format do we want? Typically you'll nearly always want PNG, okay, unless you're doing simple tests. But for final quality outputs, we'll either be working with PNG or OpenEXR, which we'll get to in a later tutorial. So for now I'm just concerned with testing it, so I'm just going to hit JPEG, hit save, it'll pop up a little quality dialog and hit OK. And I've named this test on my desktop, so let's just hit render and just let it complete. You can see if we open that little, and it's disappeared now, I'll show you that in the next render. Okay, let's just reduce this, and here on my desktop is test.jpg. Okay, so let's just open 3ds Max again here. Okay, yeah, what I was going to say there, when you hit render, I'm just going to hit overwrite because that file already exists. Yes, we can pull open this dialog here, and it's not going to let me do it. There we go. No, it's not going to let me do it. Not to worry. It just shows you some stats, you know, while you're rendering. Just wanted to show you that. Okay, that's the main ones there. We don't need to worry about scripts or email notifications or anything like that. But if we go into Arnold Renderer here, this is like a quality setting for your render. So at the minute it's set to -3. Let's go -10. -5 is the lowest it goes. And you'll probably see it renders much faster. Okay, with not that big a noticeable difference in quality. But let's bump that up. Let's make a clone of that. Okay. And let's crank this up to 3. Well, actually, let me preview A. Sorry, I was in the wrong setting there. Let's set to -3. It's this camera AA one I want to be using. So instead of 3, let's make it 10 and hit render. You'll see it just looks like it's locked up. You would honestly think your computer has just locked up. And I don't know whether you can hear it through the mic or not, but my CPU sounds like it's going to take off with the cooling fan. Now, let's just move this up. Okay, so take a look here. Okay, look how smooth that is here, and then take a look down here, and you can see the way it's kind of noisy. So this setting increases the quality at the expense of render time. Okay, let's see if I can bring up this window to show you here. There we go. Okay, so it's showing us all the different settings which are being applied to our render. Let's just hit cancel. Okay, you've got a lot of settings down here. Okay, things like for motion blur and hair and all sorts of stuff. Okay, let's turn this back down to, let's turn it to 0. In fact, let's take a look at what it looks like on really low quality and how fast it is. There we go, it's done. Okay, I'll show you that again. Done. Okay, let's bump that up to say -1, and you'll see it's a little better quality. 2. We're starting to get into sort of better quality now. Okay, so you can tune your render based on your needs. So if it's a final quality, you'll want to max out the settings without making the time scales involved unacceptable. Okay, so moving on, we can go to system here. Now let's take a look at the way the render buckets come up. Okay, you can see they start in the middle and they work their way out in a spiral, and that's down to this setting here, spiral. Let's go random and hit render, and you can see the buckets are completely random. Usually you'll want spiral or Hilbert. I actually prefer Hilbert. It kind of draws starting at one corner. You'll see it better if I change the bucket size to say 16. Okay, and hit render. Let's show you how that works just by coming back to here and putting our quality up a bit. I'll probably not let this render the whole thing, but just want to show you the way that Hilbert works. It kind of draws it in squares. Okay, and works through the scene like that. Okay, cancel, and let's show you spiral while we're on those settings. So you can see it's kind of working out from the center of the screen on a spiral. We've also got top down and bottom up, I think, or left to right as well. But one of the really handy things here is some of the settings up here. Okay, let's just do region. Like, let's say we want a high quality render, but we don't need to see everything. We only want to see one particular part of the scene, for instance, down here. Okay, that's all we want to see. We want to see it at high quality. What we can do is we can turn this on to region and adjust our region for the part we're most interested in. And we can bump our quality right up and hit render. And what we get is a high quality render of just that part of the scene. Okay. Only useful for testing purposes, obviously. Okay, thank you. Bye. That's my dog Monty having a good growl to himself there. Don't know whether you can hear it or not.